Hi, Jen Taylor, Jen Taylor Consulting. It is Thursday at noon, so happy lunch hour and happy almost weekend. So, for you taking those who do 4-day work weeks, depending on if tomorrow is your day off, happy almost weekend. So, today, as you can see, I am in the process of moving. So, you'll see this change next week. And then I'm going to be doing some remote um, calls as I get out of this house and move over to the other side. So anyway, today is the fun topic. So you thought last week was great. This week is just as good. So today we're talking about taking those workflows and making them into taking your systems that you have, what systems do you use, and seeing if the workflows work together. So I will be putting on my glasses for this. So when you're thinking about your onboarding process and you've worked out your onboarding flow, what systems do you need for that? Are you doing something with 17 Hats? Are you doing something with Dasabo? Are you doing something with Infusionsoft Now Keep or Entreport or there's so many other ones. There's one through HubSpot. There's so many different client management systems. How you do business is going to connect to what systems you need to use. So for me, I use HoneyBook, which is a client management software, CRM. So you'll hear that being CRM. So what does that look like for you? How are you getting your clients' information or even potential clients' information? And what does that look like? So when you're working through your workflow, you're then now I'm wanting you to say, okay, I am doing my workflow. I'm onboarding a client. How does this work with the system I'm doing, the system I'm using? Do I need to have some automatic emails? Do I need to have an autoresponder? And that gets into a different part of it. A different system. Do I need to have contracts in there? Do I need to have questionnaires in there? How do I connect with my clients from the time they sign up on my website that they want a consultation with me to the time I let them go and we're done with the project? How does that work? Your CRM is going to have that, and you're going to be in there sometimes on a daily basis because there's some things that they can't do that you'll still have to do manually. On mine, there are things that I need to do manually to kick off the next workflow before it moves. Because I want some stop gaps in there just in case they say no, or I need to remind them to send the questionnaire back, or things like that along the way. I want to be able to say, hey, I need to get in there and do that. So what does that onboarding flow look like, workflow look like for you? And what systems are you using to make that happen? And how can you make it easier and more efficient for you? Are there ways that you can put, as I said, stop gaps, questionnaires, emails, all of that? It becomes the hub of the communication for the first part of it. So then I'm just going to go through, I'll put this out there that's called the small business systems. And they're just small. So if you don't have any systems, this is a great list to at least start looking at. Mail systems. So how are you communicating with potential clients and current clients? Your email, like this is called your email list. If you've talked to everybody and anybody, they say this is the most important thing you need to have in your business. Your Facebook group, your Facebook page, Instagram followers, all of that can all be taken away. Your email list is yours. So how do you use it? So that's something to think about, is what does that need? How do you need to use that? And what are you doing? Are you doing ActiveCampaign, Aweber, Constant Contact, ConvertKit, MailChimp, Flowdesk? There are so many different options for you to send an email. If you are still sending an email from your list and it's on an Excel spreadsheet or Word document and you're copying and pasting, you are now spam. and they will cut you off, and you will be blacklisted, and you will have to try to get yourself out of it. The beginning, I've done that with a networking group I was in. I was in charge of communications for some things, and so I'm not spamming them. I'm letting them know things are going on. But the email system, whether you're using Gmail now, Hotmail, Outlook, whatever system you're using, they now see that as spam. And then your email becomes it gets on a list of, hey, they might be spamming you, and your stuff goes into spam. So that's why it's great to have an email system or a mail system, because they know, for the most part, that is not spam. They've been asked to be on that list, and go from there. So most of my stuff, even for myself, goes into spam. So, if you do have a mail list, just remind them, hey, put me as a trusted account or whatever they say, and you'll get these emails. Because there's things, I think I get spam from San Michelle. I'm like, I want to know when tickets go on sale for the concerts. What my priority, what my code is to get in and get those tickets. It went into spam this year, so I never got that. So I'm like, what happened? So always look in your spam account or your whatever they want to call it, and see what's there, and make sure that you say, no, this is not junk. This is something I want. And for those who don't have a mail system, as I said, these are great options to look at. Email marketing campaigns, you can do most of them through your mail system, depending on what level of service you have. If you want to tie another system to it, which is always a fun thing, and I don't suggest it, but if you really want to create a really fancy lead page or a funnel or things like that, then ClickFunnels and Lead Pages are the top two that I look at, and I recommend. So it's something to think about if you're really wanting to get into more of a lead generation type thing. Shopping carts. I have Shopify. That's the only one I know. So I think it's great. I can connect it to Facebook. You can get my workbooks on there. I'll do a plug on that. If you want a workbook, go to my Facebook page, or go to my website at jentaylorconsulting.com. Sorry. And look at shopping, because I do have my workbooks out there, and I'd be more than happy to send you one. Payments. There's so many payment options. So you're going through these workflows and you're going, okay, where can I save some time and maybe even some money, and maybe some efficiencies, and start making this easier for me to not be racking my brain over this and doing that. So as I said, your mail system is one thing. They sign up for an irresistible free offer, or they sign up for whatever you want to call it. It's basically they're signing up to your mailing list. So then that's what your mailing system does. And then you're going through there every week, every 2 weeks, once a month. I send out 2 newsletters. So go hop on and sign up. I'll put the link down below. I think I do that every time. I think I did that last week, so I'll do it again this week. So sign up. It's lovely. And so I send out 2 newsletters a month, and full of tips, ideas, thoughts, all those things. And it's just a nice way to communicate with your clients or potential clients. And then as they become clients, maybe there's a separate newsletter that goes out to them. I've got a client that has 2. One is for her current clients and past clients, and there's ones for potentials, people that have signed up to get her irresistible free offer. And so it's 2 different communications to them, because you want to work with your current and your past client, saying, hey, these are the things that I can do. I can add on or do more for you. This is what's going on. And for potential clients, hey, let's talk about X, Y, and Z. I don't have to, I just have one. But it's totally up to you on how you want to manage communications with your overall clients. as a group, not necessarily individually. Even though some people think that you're talking to them directly. I get emails back. Oh, thank you so much for sending this, but I wasn't really interested at this time. I'm like, that's great. Thanks. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon. So it's great. It's a way to communicate. As I said, shopping carts. If you have a shopping cart, what does that look like? What does that workflow look like? How do you count inventory? How do you mail things out? How do you make sure everything is set? Do you offsource it? Do you outsource that? Are you direct mailing from someplace? Me, I get the email. I put the workbooks in an envelope and send them go to the mailbox, go to the post office, UPS store, whatever, and mail it out. So what does that look like for you? What's that workflow? So doing these systems makes you think about, okay, what workflows are attached to this? And how can I make it better? That's the end of the day. That's all we're doing is reviewing what you do. Does it still work for you? Is there ways to make it easier and more efficient or even better or more automated or whatever? And then those are your new processes. You see where I'm going? That becomes, all of a sudden, these two mesh together and they become your processes and procedures. So, payments. Braintree. Chargebee. I've never heard of Gumroad, PayPal, QuickBooks, Square, Stripe. There's so many. Like the last 4 are the ones that most people use. PayPal. Well, now there's Venmo. See, Venmo was not even. And make sure if you do Venmo, make sure you do a business account. I know that they've been on. There's been a little chatter about using personal. Make sure you have a business account with Venmo. So yeah, Venmo, PayPal, QuickBooks, Square, Stripe. I'm sure there's more. But those are the big ones that everybody knows about. Zella, but that's going through your bank. So, look and see what works for you and how you are already doing business. I used to have a Square account. I don't have one anymore. I do have a Stripe account, and I do sometimes use PayPal. I'm looking at doing QuickBooks. We'll see. So, and this is the time, anytime is a good time to review these and say, okay, what's a good cost? Am I paying too much? For me, I'm taking my Stripes through HoneyBook, which is then going through Stripe. Is it easier for me just to have a separate thing, or not have them not take payments with that, or like with DeSabo and 17 Hats, you take payments directly through them. Is there are you paying too much? And that's, for me, that's where my bookkeeper comes in and says, you might want to think about doing it this way, because you're losing a lot of money each transaction. I'm like, huh. So we'll talk about it and see. And, when you have a small amount of clients, you're going to be able to make those movements quicker and more effectively than you've got a huge group of people. So think about your scaling as well. Like right now, I'm able to be more flexible and be more nimble at looking at that and changing my process and changing my workflow around it. So, but it's always a good time to review your payments, how much you're getting charged per transaction, all that fun things. So there you go. Scheduling. This should be really up on top in front of client, CRMs, in front of client management, client relation management systems. So I used to use Acuity. I loved it because you could take payments. It's through Stripe. You're putting your Stripe account in there. And it was great because you're more flexible with that. They can pay and do something right away. Calendly is another way that they can schedule. I don't know if they have payment options. Time Trade is another one. And then if you have employees, when I had employees, they didn't like it, so I stopped using it. But When I Work was a great way to schedule your employees for their shifts, if you had shifts. We didn't, but it was a good thing to use for wedding days, because then I would know not necessarily for my planners, but when we had assistants, I knew when people were leaving, so then I had a better idea of what to pay them instead of the planner going, oh, I can't remember if they left at 12 or 12:30 or if they left at 11. Well, that's $15 or more. So I need to know. So what does that workflow look like? What does that process look like for you? Project management, so many options. Asana, Basecamp were the OGs in there. So how do you use it? How do you work with your clients in it? How do you use it internally? There's Trello. I've moved on to Trello. There's Todoist, To-Do List. There's Microsoft To Do, which used to be Workflowy, I think, which I loved Workflowy. And then, no, I think Workflowy is another one. And then Microsoft To Do was something else. And I liked that one too. But I haven't gone back to look at To Do, Microsoft To Do. I have it on my little board down here below, all my little options. There's also ClickUp, which I just started using with my own VA. She uses it, and it definitely is a pretty cool option. And then communication, if you want to put communication with project management, then you're looking at something like Slack. Slack is probably the top one that everybody uses, where you're communicating with those people. Not necessarily a project management tool, but a project management communication. How are you working? How are you managing your projects within your company? Again, becomes part of the workflow. So once they're onboarded, now how are you working with them? Are they purely in one system? So once I work for my clients, once this contract is signed, then I set up their account. I set up their boards for me to work with them in Trello. And then we communicate mostly through Trello. And then, I didn't even put communication. So as I said, Slack is one. Voxer is another. I've gotten off of Marco Polo for business. I still use it personally. But what are those communication tools for you? Your social media. So you've gone through, you're still going through your workflows. So these are things to look at and combined in with those workflows, if you haven't already. Because sometimes when you're writing your workflows, you already know what you're doing. So this is a great way to test it out to see if it still works, see if it's still an option. So Buffer, CoSchedule, Hootsuite, Tailwind are all the top ones. I've used Buffer. I used CoSchedule at one point. And CoSchedule is great because you can also schedule your blogs on there. And you can really make it more a good use of your time because it did everything. And it was very, very nice. But it was pricey. So, how much social media are you doing? For me, I have somebody else doing mine. So I did not need it. So that was a great way to cut some expenses on top of already paying for my person to do my posting. And then digital online classes. So are you teaching anything? Are you in, Kajabi, Skillshare, Teachable? There's a new one that's coming out, something Sam. I keep on getting Facebook ads for it. I'm like, what are you? So as you can tell, I'm pretty set in what I like to look at and what I like to do, but they are the tried and true. And so if you don't have a system, these are ways to come in and kind of look and see which one's going to fit for you. So, how does Kajabi work in your workflow? How does Skillshare? How does Teachable? All of those have workflows around it. So how do they work? And what do you need to do to then have a process around that? So those are kind of the things. That's the next step, is you're taking your workflows. Now you're marrying it to your systems and seeing what works. Is the system that you have now not necessarily going to work for you with the workflow that you just wrote? Then it's a great time to look at things, seeing if there's another option. Are you looking at ways of maybe just looking at new systems, and you're like, where is that list? And I'll throw this list out there for you guys. But where is that list? and how can I look at it and say, okay, let's see. There's some few tweaks I'm doing it right now. My project, my graphic designer has it. So once it's updated, I will throw it out there. I won't throw this with the one I have out there because there's a couple things that I would like to add. So anyway, but that's kind of where we're at now. This is all unsexy. As I said, bring unsexy back. This is all not fun and not glamorous and not anything people that most business owners want to do. I was talking to my boyfriend last night, and he owns his own company, and he's very much, he loves to talk to people and loves the connection, but not necessarily the organization behind it, the unsexy parts. And so I said, just let me sit down with you and take that and make it better and make it that you're not always feeling like you're behind the eight ball, behind the curve, whatever you want to say, because you're not implementing the systems and the structure, the processes around it to make it work for and I said, to make it work for you, because at the end of the day, it's what works for you. But I'd love to see, I would love to see everyone get a calendar set up, get a CRM set up. If that's all you do, you're going to be way ahead than sitting there beating your head against the wall for doing everything the same way all the time. So with that is today's. Next week, we will talk again. And let me look up what we're going to talk about. It's really finishing up what we've just done. No, because we just did systems. I'm going to be a week ahead. So I might leave it up to you guys to talk about what you want me to talk about. So I will put out there that I need some questions, and I will spend the 20 to 25 minutes talking about answering your questions. So, and then we'll get to the really unsexy parts of your business, the processes and procedures. Okay. Everybody have a great July 15th, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.